Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We have a lot of questions, info@ladiestalkshow.com, and we are talking about shalom bayis, and we're talking about our day-to-day life, how we have a growth spurt, like a kid has a growth spurt in shalom bayis. That's what we're after. Okay, let's see. What's the next question, Gila?
Okay, this one seems very emotional. Batsheva asks, I wanted to have more children and my husband didn't. Somehow I convinced him, but now he barely helps with the baby. He tells me, well, you're the one who wanted to have another one. I told you it wasn't a good idea. He's good with kids and is a good father, but for some reason he won't give me practical help with this one. I feel so lonely and this is really splitting us apart.
Oh. Ay, 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 ay. So you didn't give any details about what your life is like. If you are a full-time mom and he's a full-time learner or a full-time at work, that makes a huge difference in how much help he should be giving you. So if he's full-time working, then you're pretty much on your own in terms of the child caring, diapers, cleaning the house, dishes, everything, you're on your own. If you work also part-time or full-time, then it can shift a little bit, and then you need his extra help. And certainly, if he's a full-time learner, then maybe he's helping with carpool and stuff like that. It's really, really hard when a couple does not have a very clear-cut, outlined division of labor. Now, the truth is that everyone has to come up with that kind of a chart and this is our game plan. But the way it's most impactful and the way it's most successful in a marriage is if the woman takes it up in her own mind and her own heart that she is responsible for everything in the home, and anything her husband does is a gift to her. Why is this so powerful? Because if you know from Mitzrayim and back in Egypt, what did they do? They made the women do the men's work and the men do the women's work, okay? And we could have lots of arguments about which work is which, whatever, but for the most part, child rearing for the last thousands of years has been on the woman, and it's only recently that it's shifted, this somehow has shifted. But if a woman can take on that it's her job to do everything in the house, right? Two things happen. One is everything the husband does, she thanks him for, right? Because it's really hers to do. And he did the diaper, or he picked up the living room the floor for her, whatever. So now she becomes filled with gratitude to her husband. He in turn wants to do more, which helps her more and makes her more, happier. And when she is appreciating him for doing her women's work or whatever, he has a sense of pride. So instead of him feeling like, oh, I've got to do this because it's my kids too. I hear women say that all the time. They're his kids too, Leah. How come I'm the one who's stuck with it? That's true. But that's how he's going to end up feeling like, yeah, I got to do this because it's my kids too. Whereas if he's doing it as a chesed to you, if he's doing it as an extra thing to you, right, he'll feel like a hero. He'll feel like instead of doing it because he's got to, and it's a yoke on his shoulder, he'll do it because, oh, what a good husband I am. Look what I did. I cleaned up the living room. Now, yes, you did the dinner, you did the laundry, you did the help with the homework, you did the diapers, you did blah, 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 right? And he did this one thing, and you got to thank him for that. Hello. But I'm telling you a secret. The secret is if you act in your head and heart, act like it is all on you, your life is going to be better. His life is going to be better. You're going to feel more of a sense of gratitude to him, which in turn will make you feel happier in the marriage and will make him feel more satisfied that he's making you happy. Okay, there's a try this at home activity. Okay, go try it. You will see. And write me, info@ladiestalkshow.com, and tell me how it went. Beautiful question. Okay.
Great. Blima's asking, I find that every time I get sick or I'm under the weather, it gets in the way of our shalom bayis. I feel like I need my husband's attention more. I need him to sympathize with me. On the other hand, he has a hard time dealing with it, and I end up feeling very bad.
So I'm not sure if this is a logistics issue. It sounds like it's a logistics issue or it's an emotional issue.
Sounds emotional because she said she wants her husband, oh, attention more. Yeah, she says she wants him to sympathize. That sounds emotional.
Yeah. Um, so my first question, it's hard because I don't have you right in front of me, but my first question is, what have you had a conversation with him about it? And if so, what happened? So let's assume you haven't had a conversation. I'll tell you what conversation you might have that might be most productive, which is to say, listen, when I get sick, I feel exactly like you said you felt, and is there something we can do about it? And you're taking I've got empty hands for those of you listening on audio, and handing the problem to my husband and having him solve it. Say, what do you think we can do about this? And get his input. I'm sure he's a wise, smart guy. He married you, he's got to be very smart if he married you. Find out what he can, what ideas he might come up with, and come up with them together, brainstorm together. If you think he's not very good at brainstorming, or this isn't going to work, you yourself get a piece of paper and a journal and write down 10 things you think you can do to solve this problem. For me to come in and not know what communication you've had, makes it a little difficult. But you could say something to him like, before the next time I get sick, I want to have a good plan of action. And one thing I need is attention and sympathy. So when I'm sick, I need you to tell me, oh, I'm so sorry. And oh, it must be hard for you. I need a lot of sympathy. And if you can't think of what to say, I'm going to hand you and make 10 index cards. I'm going to hand you a stack of 10 index cards. And over the first 24 hours of my illness, I want you to say each one of these things, put them behind each other. Like, oh, I'm sorry you feel bad. Oh, it must be so hard for you, like that. Following? You looking at me confused? Yeah? Everybody
Hear
understand?
you. I hear you.
Yeah?
I
Yeah,
hear
you got it.
you.
Okay. I just want
Yeah.
to make sure you're looking like that. Maybe you're
I'm
being
looking at the
corrected.
next question.
Okay. You gotta be
Questions
multitask.
are
Okay,
coming
fine.
in.
Okay, good. Okay, get the next one. That's good. Good question.
Shifa's asking, my husband is really unhygienic. I cringe when he comes near me. I'm sure this sounds terrible, but I'm honest and I don't know what to do about it.
Oi, this ain't the first time I got this question.
You know
So
what? We can combine it because there's another question about someone's husband growing a beard and she really doesn't like it.
leave that one separate. Leave that one
Oh,
separate.
okay.
Let's just do this hygienic one. So the thing about the hygienic is that everybody's raised differently. And in some people who are raised super hygienic actually have a judgment about people who weren't. Okay, they feel like, like, where did you grow up, in a barn, whatever they grew up in their whole life, of their standards of what their family had, usually doesn't match with what their husband's was. Sometimes it's the other opposite way, but usually women are, because they're the one doing the cleaning. For instance, a woman, recently complained to me that her husband puts dishes in the sink. Well, fantastic, but he doesn't fill them with water. So somebody will have eggs and he'll just leave at the bottom of the thing. And the next morning, she's there sitting there for half an hour with a scrub brush trying to get the hardened egg off the dish. So her husband just doesn't, it's because he never did dishes, unfortunately. So he doesn't know what it takes. So this is just a matter of communication. She needs to say, her hygienic, if you want to call it that, a way of growing up and living or whatever, has been to soak the dishes in water before, or put them in the dishwasher right away, or whatever it is. That's what she's learned, and her husband never learned that. So the whole judgment that a woman will have about her husband for not being hygienic is really not fair, because he was never taught that. It wasn't part of his daily life. Or maybe his mother taught it crazy. Maybe his mother's fastidious and clean, and everything's perfect in their home, and it just never sunk into him. But this is a very challenging thing for a wife to be able to sort of, quote unquote, teach her husband, because she has no business being his teacher. But she can impress on him how things make her feel, and that is okay. So there's a difference in hygiene between personal hygiene, like he never brushes his teeth, or he doesn't wear deodorant, or he doesn't shower as often as you wished he would. That's one type of challenge. The other type of challenge is just around the house. He's sloppy. He leaves everything everywhere. He, spills something on the counter and doesn't clean it. So I don't know what which area your particular situation is, but let's just quickly take the two types. If it's personal hygiene, you have to be super, super careful because we should never say anything negative about our husband's or anyone's really physicality. Oh, your legs are so fat, or oh wow, you should lose weight over the in your you should do muscle ups for what are these things called? What's it called when you do that? I don't there's a
Training
name,
weights.
lift weights or
Right,
whatever, yeah,
yeah.
arm curls or whatever, you should do that. People become very self-conscious about it. It's very damaging. It can really turn somebody who was a in good shape thin person to fat slob because it's the worst thing. It's the least growing thing you can do to somebody. So it usually has the opposite effect of what we're trying to accomplish. So you have to be super, super careful. But if it is hygiene issues, then you can talk to him and say things like, I'm really not sure what to do. The issue of brushing teeth has really been, I'm not sure what to do. I'm used to brushing my teeth once a day or twice a day or 3 times a day or after every meal or whatever it is that you're used to, and you do it, every other day. And it's, I love you so much and I really don't know what to do about it, but it makes a difference to me. What do you think we can do about it? And he might say, oh, nothing. Or he might say, why? You don't like the way my breath smells? Or, and you can have a conversation about it, but it has to be handled so, so delicately. And sometimes it's not even worth it because it'll hurt the person and it won't accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. It could be, and your husband better than I do. Whether your, encouragement or vulnerability or asking him a request, whether that's ever been successful in the past. If it has, it's worth a try. If it hasn't, I wouldn't even try, and I would try and in my own head not judge my husband as much. Not easy, I get it. Let's talk about now hygiene where it comes to household stuff. If it's impinging on your ability to keep the house clean and you like a clean house, or there's a difference between mess and cleanliness. So he's just throwing everything everywhere. That's very different than if he's spilling stuff, orange juice and is dripping on the floor and then he leaves it there for a day, So again, these are all variances of a challenge. And depending on how big the challenge is, depends on what your reaction to it is going to be and how you're going to handle it. And again, it takes a lot of thought and it has to be done very, very carefully. Think about it very carefully. Without knowing all the subtleties of your thing, you can tell I'm having a little bit of difficulty advising you because it could be any number of things that you're dealing with. But the bottom line message for you from our Masora is how to communicate in the most kindest way possible, and that you can't give rebuke. You can't give rebuke to somebody when they're not going to hear it. So, and then it's just a question of you being able to not take out your upset and your anger about it on your husband, and just trying to live with it and not judge, and working internally to not be able to not react, which can be very challenging. And it might be that you go and you speak with the Rebbitzin and say, listen, I've got a messy husband. I'm trying to, use my duct tape, you know, as much as I possibly can, but it's so hard for me. What do you think I can do? And maybe you can get some further help that way. Okay, best of luck to you. I feel, yeah, it's not an easy one. Okay, good. What else you got for me, Galen?
I love it. I also feel like we've become so chummy with our husband that we could just say things the way we would maybe to our roommate, and we realize that we really can't. There needs to be a certain level of like respect and thought about how we're going to say things.
Very good.
Especially because you want to be the most attracted to your spouse and vice versa. Okay. Javi is asked, so this is the beard question that I said we're gonna
Oh,
go.
yeah. Okay, good.
So Javi's question was, my husband lets his beard grow because he's chassidish. However, my exposure makes it very difficult to be physically attracted to him. What do I do?
What does she mean at my exposure?
I guess she didn't grow up in a chassidish type of environment, and and maybe she
I
sees
see.
other guys who are clean shaven, and that's more attractive to her.
Or a kempt beard or something. Yeah. Anything physical is so hard, ladies. It's like so hard. And the thing that's so hard about it is that a man really cannot say anything to a woman and can't and shouldn't ever should. Oh, does the answer to does this dress make me look fat is no. Like it's really, if you think about it, if your husband were to say anything to you about your physicality, your attractiveness, and your physicality, it can be very painful, and hurtful and memorable. It's hard to forget these things. So, um, you can tell I've heard a lot of stories of this, and it's painful. It's painful for women, equally
Sorry,
painful
Leah, there
for men.
isn't a differentiation between like a body type or something you can't change versus trimming your beard.
That's excellent point. It's
Yeah,
true.
like if he doesn't like the color of your sheitel and he wants you to darken it, that's a very different thing than trimming than
Your
losing
nose, your
weight
nose is too. You have a big nose.
or yeah, or like fix your toes. Like you
Yeah,
can't like there are certain things you could fix and certain things you can't. Like
right.
I feel like trimming a beard isn't the same as like a wife being fat. I don't know. Like
It's true. The only thing is that if like what he grew up with, and his daddy and his Abba, his uncles and all the people and his rebbes and everyone who was close to his whole life had beards like that.
yeah, it's true.
Ooh, I just,
It becomes who he is in a way.
yeah, I feel so bad. You know, I hate to come down on the side of the man and that you just have to live with it, but that's really how I'm feeling. I just can't imagine taking that away from him. Um, and it seems like it would be easier for you to accept what you have, what Hashem gave you, right? Than for him to change his, you know, whole fitting in with his community. It could be he cuts it and then he doesn't feel like part of anybody. All his friends are seeing him and he's different and whatever, and that could really, you could regret it. You could, he could like not feel as close to his friends at shul and then not go to shul as much or something, God forbid. I don't know, be careful and not, and there's no courses of God forbid it, but I'm just saying it's scary. It's scary. You have to be careful what you wish for because you might get it, So I'm really on this part. I feel like if you could work on yourself to just love him and think, this is what God gave me. If you're able to do that, I think that's the best solution to this. I wish you luck. It's not an easy thing. Write me back if you have more questions. If you're having try that. Let us know if that was successful, and if it wasn't successful, maybe we can think of something else to help you with. Best of luck with it. Not such an easy thing. Hatzlacha. Okay.
All right.
Is there another question? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have time for another question. Dasi is saying, my husband never notices what I do. I can spend time making a fancy dessert to impress him and he won't notice. I can clean the house and he won't notice. I can put on makeup and he won't notice. I feel like he just doesn't care enough.
Right. Welcome to malehood. Right. Yes. And welcome to being a wife. This is it. A husband is includes. The good news is I had a friend, she says, my exact same thing. My husband doesn't notice anything or whatever. And then she had like, I think it was 5 kids under 5. Could that be possible to do the math or whatever? She had a lot of little kids. The house was flying, mess, literally from one week to the next. Even Shabbos, it like got partially cleaned. It wasn't even like a Shabbos, whatever. And I remember her saying to me that, it used to, the fact that he didn't notice anything used to bug me so much. And now it's like, thank God he doesn't notice. So here, that's for you, is that I hear it. And that's why we have in Marriage Secrets, okay, there's a whole section on getting the appreciation you need. And the moment a woman takes a chayas on herself, it takes what do you say, a chayas? Yeah.
Ownership, responsibility.
When she takes the responsibility upon herself to get the appreciation she needs, that's a total game changer. You'll go from feeling like not unappreciated, from like you get appreciation anytime you want. Now, is it better for a husband to give full appreciation, say you're wonderful? Yeah, good luck with that. It's like an A plus 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 appreciation, but it's once a year. versus a woman saying, wow, I did this and I did that, and then I cleaned the kitchen, and then I whatever, aren't I wonderful? And husband says, yes, that's a B plus appreciation, but you get it all whenever you want. And you sell your husband on it. Say, I'm gonna say some things or whatever, because I need the appreciation. Every woman has an appreciation bucket that she walks around with empty all day long, all her whole life. And if I say a thing and you say yes, yes, dear, or whatever, it makes me feel good. And here's the thing, ladies, it does. Makes no sense why it would. Why you saying it and him agreeing would feel good, but the homework is to get yourself appreciated on something that you're an empty bucket about, like something ridiculous, like your husband never thanks you for doing the dishes. Ask him to thank you for it. Say, isn't it great that I did the dishes? Yes, dear. Isn't it great that I cleaned the car? Isn't it something that you did that you would like appreciation for? Get yourself appreciated this week at least one time. Okay, we'll see you next week. It's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.